Hey everyone! Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Compliance. I'm Ashley, the host of this podcast, and I'm so happy that you're tuning in to a new episode this week. So, this week we are talking about something that all of us HR professionals are constantly thinking about right now, even if we're not saying it out loud, and that is AI in HR. I'm talking AI recruiters, AI resume screening, and even employees using AI at work. And the big question behind it all, what does this mean for the future of HR? So, this episode is not a tech panic episode. I'm not here to say that AI is taking over the world or that HR is disappearing. This is a realistic, behind the scenes look at how HR is actually showing up in our work and what parts of HR are absolutely still belonging to humans. But before we jump into this week's episode, let's talk coffee of the day, my favorite part of the podcast. And today I am drinking a caramel brewed coffee, just a little K cup. And I put in some zero sugar Chobani creamer. It's so yummy. And a little bit of my collagen peptides just to support my hair and nails and skin and get a little extra protein in. So that's what we're sipping on today. It is warm. I just love hot coffee. I drink iced coffee, but more when I'm going to go get coffee from Summer Moon or from somewhere like that. So grab your coffee, your matcha, your tea, or just whatever you're sipping on today, and let's get into this week's episode. Okay, so let's first start talking about recruiting because I feel like that's where AI really showed up first. AI tools are already sourcing candidates, scanning and ranking resumes, scheduling interviews, sending follow ups, and even conducting first round interviews over the phone, which I'll get into in the story time segment because I recently had my first experience with AI Recruiter. So they're starting to dabble in that a little bit. And from a business standpoint, that sounds amazing. Recruiting has a lot of repetitive tasks. It's probably my least favorite part of HR. So AI looks like efficiency. And, it really is efficient. But recruiting is not just task based, it's judgment based. AI can scan for keywords, AI can match experience, AI can even find patterns, but it cannot sense when someone is nervous but capable, like I often am in interviews. Yes, even as HR professionals get really anxious interviewing for jobs ourselves. It cannot notice when confidence is covering incompetence. It cannot understand team dynamics. It can't do the vibe check. Recruiting is part data, part intuition. And the intuition part, that is still most definitely belonging to the human side. But now let's talk resume sifting, because this is the part that companies get most excited about. AI can review thousands of resumes in minutes. That saves time and that saves money. But here's where HR has to slow everyone down because AI learns from historical data. So if a company has historically hired people from certain schools or certain industries or even certain backgrounds, AI may quietly decide that those are the best candidates. And that's how bias can sneak in, even if everyone's saying, but it's data driven. So HR's role is changing. We're not just doing the screening anymore. We're auditing the systems. We're asking, is this tool fair? What outcomes are we seeing? Who might be getting filtered out? HR is becoming the ethical checkpoint in technology decisions. Okay, so this is the part I want every HR person to just breathe in because AI cannot replace the core of HR. It cannot replace emotional intelligence when someone is crying in your office, overwhelmed, burnt out, AI cannot sit in that moment and help those employees work through those emotions. Second one, nuance. Employee relations is never black and white. AI wants rules, but HR lives in the gray areas. Number 3 is trust. Employees don't confide in systems. They confide in people who feel safe, and those are going to be your HR professionals, not your chat GPT. And then the last one is reading between the lines. It's fine, rarely ever mean it actually is fine. And HR knows that. So AI can't read between the lines in those situations. The more technology handles tasks, the more valuable the human side of HR becomes. Okay, so now let's flip perspectives. Employees are already using AI to write emails, draft reports, build presentations, and brainstorm ideas. I mean, I use AI to brainstorm ideas about the podcast. I use AI to help me build out episodes, maybe throw in a joke here or there because I'm not this naturally funny. I know. But AI can be such a great resource when used correctly. And it's kind of crazy how many companies don't even have AI policies yet or aren't even thinking about, maybe that they need an AI policy. So HR is now having to navigate confidential information being entered into AI tools, managers not knowing what their team is using, and employees who aren't being malicious. They're just trying to work smarter and not harder. And I don't blame them. But the worst thing a company can do right now is pretend that AI doesn't exist or ban it completely because people won't stop using it. They'll just hide it. And hidden use of AI is far riskier than guided use. So now HR's job is becoming, how can we use AI responsibly? Now let's move into our story time segment because, like I always say, HR is a shared experience. AI in the workplace right now, it feels like the Wild West. Everyone's trying tools, testing the limits, and learning as we go. I've seen stories of AI written resumes that sounded amazing, but fell apart in the interview process. I've seen managers using AI to write performance feedback, employees not realizing company data shouldn't be pasted into public tools, and so much more. But this is a new territory for everyone, including HR. Okay, so now let's jump into our story time segment of the podcast because, like I always say, HR is a shared experience. AI in the workplace right now, it truly feels like the Wild West. Everyone's trying tools, testing limits, and learning as we go. I've seen stories of AI written resumes that sounded amazing, but fell apart in the interview process. I've seen stories about managers using AI to write performance feedback. And then also employees not realizing that company data should not be pasted into public tools. So this is new territory for everyone, including HR professionals. So let's jump into some anonymous takes on how HR professionals are utilizing AI to help them streamline tasks and make their jobs more effective. This first person says they use AI for seasonal email ideas, organizing their notes, and they especially love it for the Excel help. I can definitely relate to that. They upload the spreadsheets and have it perform different functions. They said that their company even pays for a paid version and it helps them feel comfortable with the security. That's a really good take. I feel like a lot of companies should be looking into providing their employees a paid version of AI so that their company information is more protected. Great idea. And this last person says that their organization built an AI that is loaded with their HR handbook, which they said is ridiculously long. I think we can all relate to that. and so that it can quickly check for things like policies and apply it to different situations. That's really neat. They even said that they have developed a smaller tool for talent acquisition that can generate job descriptions with just a few details, which has really cut down on the endless back and forth between recruiters and client groups. That's really awesome. I really love all of these different people's takes on AI in HR. I think we can take something from that. So, now let me tell you about the moment that AI became very real for me and actually inspired this week's episode. I am currently on the job market. As I'm briefly mentioned in my last episode, I'm applying to jobs daily. And a few days ago, I got a call about an HR role that I applied for. And I answered it, and it was an AI recruiter on the other end. And my first instinct, I'm not even kidding, was to hang up. I was like, nope, I don't like this. This feels weird. But then the HR professional in me kicked in, and I thought, okay, wait, I actually want to see how advanced this is. So I decided to stay on and continue the interview. It started off pretty normal. It asked me to state my name and verify some basic info, nothing too personal, which I appreciated. Then it asked me for my potential start date and my pay range that I was looking for. And this is actually where it got a little interesting because the range that I gave was actually outside of their minimum budget. And instead of just moving on, it responded if I was still interested in the position based on the highest pay that they could offer. And I said yes because I wanted to see where this continued. And I remember thinking, okay, that's actually a pretty realistic recruiter question, to step in and ask, oh, well, hey, your pay range is actually outside of what we can do. Are you even still interested in this position? Because we don't want to continue the recruiting process if you're not going to be interested in the job based on your pay expectations. Then it went into situation based questions. It asked me about my overall experience in HR, asked me to talk about that, whether I had worked with certain systems and things like that. Very standard HR screening questions. But the experience of answering them was just so strange because every time I finished talking, it was just a little bit of silence, a few seconds of silence, no little like, okay, yeah, I got you. Or I hear you, no human filler sounds, just quiet. Then after a few seconds, it would respond with things like, great, thank you. Or, that sounds awesome. Just kind of like basic prompts that the AI already had pre generated, which technically is a response, but it didn't feel human. It felt like I was talking into the void and it occasionally gave me a gold star. But but it's okay. It actually surprised me. I was actually really impressed. It was way more advanced than I expected. It adapted to my answer. It asked relevant follow-ups. It moved through the process smoothly from a process standpoint. And that's when it really hit me. If this is what the front end of hiring starts to look like, the human side of HR becomes even more important later. Because if your first interaction with a company is a robot voice and silence, you're going to crave that real human connection somewhere in that journey. So, walking away from that, I didn't think HR is doomed. I just thought HR is shifting. Technology might handle the initial filters and questions, but the trust building, the relationship part, the feeling seen part, that's still on us HR professionals. Ultimately, I left the experience feeling impressed and honestly less anxious than a real life interview. There wasn't a person staring at me that could give me reactions when I spoke. I honestly enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. So, in conclusion, the future of HR isn't less human, it's more human in different places. AI can process information, but it cannot care. And caring, supporting, listening, navigating those hard conversations, that's still our job. So, Thank you for hanging out with me today on Coffee and Compliance. New episodes air every Monday at 8 a.m. Central. And until next time, keep your coffee warm and your workplace compliant.